Hello. So welcome to Bad Bitches on the Bad Batch. I am Arzu from arzudt.com and the Geeky Waffle, and with me...
Hi, I'm Maggie from Twitter, Your Money Geek, all over the place. I'm everywhere.
I'm Candace, also from the Geeky Waffle.
Hello, I'm Norhal from Twitter.
I'm Hannah from Followers of the Force.
Hey, I'm Hope from Jake Guys and Jedi.
That's fun.
That intro, man.
A little bit scary, a little bit bouncy, which is basically Star Wars in a nutshell. So tonight we are talking episode 9, Bounty Lost, and episode 10, Common Ground. So let's just get right into it. Episode 9, Bounty Lost. Initial thoughts. I know it's been a week, but initial thoughts.
Only thoughts. Fennec Shand.
Our queen. Our
Head
queen
empty, Fennec Shand.
Yes.
I'm here standing my Cad Boo and my Toto. Like, I'm just still not over Cad Boo and Toto being back. And I saw the metal plate, so I'm just like, oh, he probably already did survive his fight with Boba, so he's probably not going to die. Oh, I love it.
I love the optimism. So I'm just like, we all know how they like to fuck with us.
I mean, Star Wars kills all of our faves, so let me have some optimism. Like, he'll maybe stay alive.
No one's ever really gone in Star Wars.
That
Yes.
is
Case
true.
in point, Boba Fett. Yes!
Yes.
I had to clean out all the graphics today, but I left that one because I couldn't bring myself to make him fade
Boba
away into
Fett.
nothing again.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
But also Fennec Shand.
The queen.
Oh,
She's
look at that.
everywhere.
Queen.
She's everywhere.
Our
Forget
king
about the Bad
queen.
Batch. We're just going to talk about Fennec Shand the whole
Let's.
2 hours.
Let's talk
Whole
about
hour.
Fennec Shand. Let's get right into it. So we're
Has never
jumping
done
ahead of it.
anything wrong
Has-
in her entire life.
Never.
Never
Exactly.
once. She is,
Never.
as evidenced, honestly, by this episode, because we all sort of assume coming into this that she was working for somebody, maybe the Kaminoans, maybe somebody else. And turns out she is working for the Kaminoans, but to keep Omega safe.
Not
So-
the Kaminoans, one Kaminoan.
One Kaminoan.
Mhm.
Get it straight.
Now let's say.
This is true.
Yeah.
She's a Kaminoan.
I hate
keep
you
Omega
for
safe.
her.
She seems to actually love Omega, which
I
I love.
know, right?
I love that
Yeah.
aspect. That, she
It slightly redeems her for what she did to Fives.
No, it does
I know.
not. It
No.
never will.
Not slightly.
It never will.
First time I
made
thought
her
Fennec
more
did something to
nuanced.
Fives, I'm like, what did I miss?
My friend just started watching Clone Wars a few months ago, and she finally got to the Fives part, and she's just texting me, "Oh my god, how could they do that to Fives?" and just all this kind of stuff. It's heartbreaking. It's yep, I feel that pain still.
Gone but never forgotten.
So
Never
every time I
forgotten.
look at the boxes
He
in my
died
room-
so Rex could live.
Here's my thing. Echo's alive. Arguably, that was worse. Why
This
is
is
Fives not
true.
alive?
Yeah, what happened to
I
him?
know.
Oh.
I don't know.
They're both so
Our-
sad.
our
Here's our
sweet
best
boy.
boy. Here's our best boy.
He's very grumpy this episode. There, I guess, Common
Well,
Ground. We'll talk about that later.
Of course, Echo's grumpy. He's got tech in his ear all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, I'd be pretty
Picking on
grumpy
him.
Being a
too.
little butthead. I loved Echo in episode 9 because wow, I've never said I love anything about episode 9 before.
This is redeemed to the concept of episode 9.
It came out of my mouth and I was like, that did not feel right.
It's on the internet forever.
From now on, episode 9 is only referring to Bounty Lost.
Yes,
I'm gonna cut that and just have Maggie saying,
I love it.
Yeah.
Please do that. I want that to be a trend on Twitter. No, I love that Echo. I think we've talked about this before on here, or at least among ourselves, the fact that Echo is definitely the better leader than Hunter because
Yes.
Echo has the emotional maturity that the Bad Batch lacks in a lot of ways because of the way that they were created. So it was really nice to see Echo being like, okay, I found the information about Cad Bane. This is where they probably are. We need to not be fiddling around. We need to go. We can't stay here. We've got crosshair on our tails. And then being like, you need to tell her the truth. Like, because Hunter was totally prepared not to tell Omega anything. And so it was really nice to see the voice of reason.
I think what's cool about Echo contrasted to the Bad Batch, at least in my opinion, is they are we are just among ourselves and we take care of ourselves and it's just our little group. And Echo is so used to working in a larger context, like within the entire army, that he's like, okay, cool, but you can't do that. You have to relay information to everybody. You have to, so you can't, like, you don't have the Republic
this is affecting more
calling
than
your
just
shots.
you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's not just about your group anymore. And I think they're slowly starting to realize that. But it's nice that they do have one member there who is like, realize this, because otherwise you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
I did like in that scene the parallel that Hunter had with Cut LaQuaine in his episode, like saying almost the exact same things, like, are you hurt? Like going almost like he was like, okay, what did Cut say? He said these things. Parenting.
Yeah.
He's learning. He's on this process of learning.
Very slowly. I think they all are.
Slowly but surely.
I like that, to jump ahead to episode 10, when immediately Hunter starts yelling again because Omega has discovered her Queen's Gambit life. That
I know.
That he just freaks out and goes, this is not low profile. And every single member of the Bad Batch is like, okay, you made so much progress last time.
My favorite was Wrecker, who did the shoulder check and looked at him like, you better be nice.
You better be nice to our
asshole, get it together.
He's really like, you better not hurt my girl. My girl. Look how many times. I mean, she's constantly just like, Wrecker, look at how Wrecker looks.
Proud he is.
Look at them.
I love how he just puts her on his shoulder and is just carrying her around. And they're sharing snacks. I tried to get those snacks from Galaxy's Edge, which is like the popcorn, but it was out of order. And I was like, I guess Omega and Wrecker were there.
They just finished a mission and they were celebrating. And
just had to take it all.
There's also like those kind of snacks and what is it called? In Smuggler's Run. So I'm like, maybe like Omega and Wrecker are still going sequel trilogy style, working for Hondo.
Oh God,
they're still around. I don't see why not.
Interesting.
Speaking of being around later, this is my very smooth segue. So we learn in episode 9. I'm going to talk about clones in episode 9, and it's not going to make me cry. We learn about in episode 9 that Omega is one of, as far as we know, 2.
Wait, say it again. Arzu?
As we're just learning that she is like one of 2 pure Django clones. I'm not saying that part again because you're not clipping that, but she's one of 2 pure Django clones. So 2 questions. 1, what do we think this means for this show? 2, do we think this means Omega and Book of Boba Fett?
I didn't even think about that. That would be awesome. He's like kind of her sister. He is. They're siblings, really. They're true siblings in a way.
Yeah,
I would love that. That'd be so fun.
That would be so cool.
She would be, I guess,
because
really
mid-30s by that
Fennec
point.
and her come, like,
like, hey, sorry,
she
I had to kidnap you twice.
They'd be the same age.
Yeah,
that's true.
Isn't Boba a little bit? Maybe it's just the way they look.
Yeah, he's 13. His character design, he looks about the same height as Omega. She might be like more like maybe 11, 12.
Yeah, she's just a few. Yeah, she's just a few years younger than him.
Okay, so she's in her. Well, he's supposed to be in his 40s. So
like mid 40s. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Ooh.
would be sweet.
If she could be like in her. Yeah, she could be in her 30s. She could be in there. That would be awesome.
Or is she going to come up in the War of the Bounty Hunters?
Or she could just be in all of them.
Or she, just
all of them.
every medium.
All of them.
Omega is the new Ahsoka Tano, and she's just in everything.
There you go.
I love Ahsoka Tano. I'm just, y'all know how I feel about her. So, okay, so then back to this show then. So the Kaminoans want
episode 9.
Omega back. Back to episode 9.
Because they're running out of the genetic matter.
The genetic sample.
Yeah.
So
even though the Empire isn't wanting to do a reorder.
Okay, so the Empire doesn't want more clones. So what? I know this is all speculation territory and less recap territory, but what do we think their goal is ultimately? Does anybody have any thoughts? Dark Troopers.
I think the early plans of Dark Troopers using modified genetics infused with droid. I think that's going to be where I feel like we can start seeing the beginning of that, just because with the introduction of the Dark Troopers, and playing with all of that, I think that there's potential for connecting those two points.
Make the perfect soldier. It's like an Echo 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Baby.
Baby. I have so many feelings about him right now. So many.
Yeah, same.
Or
Are they appropriate feelings to be discussing during a YouTube live stream or no?
I have feelings about how he is superior to Tech. What are you talking about, Candace?
Okay, I don't know. You guys are getting a little weird beforehand. Look at Arzu. Arzu's like,
Look, I'm just saying. Tech probably has an inferiority complex because Echo has arrived. Echo is both like emotionally mature. He had lots of friends outside of this little group of the Bad Batch. He's funny. He's handsome. He's charming. He's really good at
he actually has a personality.
Yeah.
He has a personality. He has likes and dislikes. He's good on the computer. He's good at finding things. He's good at leading. He's good at everything
There you go.
within Tech's niche. And honestly, Tech can go at the airlock. I mean, I don't care.
No, he's my
I would
favorite.
not
Like
be
everything you
wrong.
just,
No,
everything
can I
you
say,
just
I'm gonna dial it
listed,
back
Tech
down a
has
bit.
all of that.
I stand by what I said.
Why is Tech your favorite Hope? There's nothing to him. He has no personality. We're 10 episodes in, and I can't tell you one thing about him.
Look at my
Oh my
face.
God. No fighting. No fighting. My only
This is
issue
what we
with
do at
Tech,
the Waffle.
my
We
only
fight.
issue
I
with
need
Tech
to
is that
know.
he was rude to Echo today when Echo was clearly very uncomfortable
I was
with
like,
something.
Right to jail.
Like,
Right to jail.
I love him for all of you guys.
No,
It was
Hope,
this
why do you
moment.
like
Look at
him?
this. Look
Why
at
do
his
you like
face.
okay,
him?
no, let's.
Oh
like,
my God, he's gonna
seriously.
punch him.
Look at his face.
I just want to answer Arcee's original question. I don't want to be ganged
He's
up
gonna
on.
put itching powder
Don't
in
be
his
ganged
head.
up on. Don't be ganged up on. Oh no.
But no, I think he has all that. I do think he's a very funny character. He actually reminds me a lot of Entrapta from She-Ra, who is a neurodivergent character. So she can also come off very like one note and stuff like that. But when you get into the intricacies of like just little things like how he is around Omega, he always treats her as an equal. He was the first one to treat her as an equal. He's never stopped. And he's always very careful with her. And I constantly see him in the background with Echo, both like guiding him, looking after her. And while Wrecker is like more forward, and so is Hunter, they're almost like the background support. And I find him a very funny character. I've always been a sucker for those kind of like tech geeky tropes. Those have always been my favorite. So he was always the first one I latched onto. I'm like, you're my favorite. And I think he's cute. I like his little receding hairline. It's cute.
Aww.
I know. Like,
Well, when you
he's
put
just
it
a
like
precious boy.
that,
Yeah,
And,
no, that
but
helps.
I could see him almost being like, I don't want to say it's neurodivergent representation because it's not, but he has that kind of like
he's missing that kind of,
yeah. And so I kind of like that sort of spin on it because everybody else is so highly emotional that they need someone that's kind of that straight man character to kind of be that person. And I've always liked that about him because he is that deadpan delivery guy. And that's what makes him funny is he's the straight man and all the crazy people. And he plays that role well.
Yeah, I would hope to see more of him, see a little bit more depth, and see him instead of just because like he only has like a few lines, and it's always usually to give exposition.
Yeah.
So I want to see more. I
I think it's like
but there's only so much time in the day. Actually, this was something I was talking about.
We were talking
Arzu
about this earlier.
It's almost. I wish they would follow the Mandalorian when it comes to how they handle runtimes. They're the only people who are saying that they have to stay within 22 minutes. There's no why are they not doing like longer episodes to have those extra scenes to fill in those character beats? They're deciding that themselves. But I kind of wish they would be a little bit looser with that runtime because now they are on a streaming service. They don't have to worry about commercials anymore.
Aren't they a little bit more? But that's the thing with animation. Every frame counts. Like, with money wise.
Today was right at like 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's 25 minutes.
But
so it's about 3
even
minutes
with
extra.
even with every frame count, like first of all, I'm positive if they wanted to make it a little longer, shorter, whatever they could, and like by setting a lot of things in the same space, the assets are there, right? Like we're not asking for new animation assets.
I believe Siege of Mandalore, like they were full 30-minute episodes, not the 22 runtime.
Yeah,
And
those,
it felt
yeah.
like 30 minutes.
Especially if they're not like action scenes and they're more character development scenes.
That's the thing that's like been missing this entire series. It's been the character development stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why
It's
characters
true.
like Echo and Wrecker come across as more developed as some of the other characters, because they've had these little character moments, whereas some of the others haven't had as much like dead on.
This is why we're all so attached to characters like Rex or Echo. Granted, Clone Wars had 7 seasons, and this is still the first one, but
exactly
we spent so much time with them in a non-battle context that we get very, very attached to the clones because they give us the character moments.
Even one episode of the Clone Wars had like a whole history that we knew everything about him by the time that he returns in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
I still feel like this is just such a super safe show. Like they're afraid to take those chances. They're afraid to take those like big character chances because it's still. I think they tried to do too many things when it came to shows like Resistance or even like not having a plan for the sequel trilogy, that they kind of wanted to fall back on some safety nets. Like this is familiar. It's a time period we know with characters we know. We've been with these stories before. We know this setting. And that's probably my biggest frustration of the show is, it's cool to see all these characters. Like I love seeing Cad Boo back. He's my boo. I love him so much. I just want to lick his face. I love him. He's so handsome.
You and your purple guy, your blue guys. Huh?
I love Cad Bane. He's so sexy. And I love his droid too. Give me Toto every day. He's my favorite droid. But like, I just don't know why they're not taking these chances. And I have to wonder if it's because of what happened around Resistance, because they did take a lot of chances. Resistance went off irregular runtime, actually, because Clone Wars and Rebels was broken into 7-minute segments, almost to the letter, every episode to make for commercial breaks. But Resistance would have 10 to 12-minute first acts before the first commercial breaks, and then have very short second and third acts. So it actually made these very well-rounded exposition character episodes. So usually the last 2 acts were just like action. So you had these really well-developed character moments, and I'm surprised that they went back to like the Clone Wars structure in the show when it's on a streaming service and you don't have to factor for commercials.
Yeah.
Oh, Bree, remember who Thrawn is? Yay, Bree!
Yay! Let's traumatize them.
We traumatized them by saying things.
We traumatized them with our Thrawn thirst. Like that's what it was.
It is in the wild.
It was great. No, going off of what Hope said, I was actually just talking to somebody about that. With this show, like you were saying, we're in such a familiar time zone. And somebody had asked, I was like, oh, do you think it's just going to be one episode or one season? Sorry. Because we seem to be wrapping up a lot of things. Like they just paid off their debt to Sid in episode 10. And just kind of things are kind of, I personally think it's the calm before the storm, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I would like to see them keep pushing past Order 66 because God knows we've seen that like 3-4 times at this point. I want to move beyond the immediate, again, aftermath.
Bruce Wayne's parents dying.
Yeah, it is. It's really what it is. Order 66 is the Bruce Wayne's parents dying of Star Wars. We see it all the time.
See, I had thought with the mid-season episode that was going to be the breaking point, that the storm was, going to finally pass and get all of this actual like multi-episodes of Omega being separated. And then they showed up in like the last 5 seconds of the episode and they're like, and I was like, I feel like something was missed there. I was really confused. I was really confused by how quickly they got her back because they felt like they were a long way away and then suddenly they were right there as her ship was. I was like, whatever, it's animation, it's a kid's show, things are solved easily.
Hyperspace moves at the speed of plot.
But I will say, despite the episode where they gunned down refugees, this has been the most kid-friendly series, like more kid-friendly than the Clone Wars, because everything is resolved so quickly in one episode. It's very surface level. It's not going super deep. It's super short. Like, it's really interesting to me that this series, despite the heavy topics that they could be touching on, off the heels of the Clone Wars, is very kid friendly. And I think that might be where the disconnect is for a lot of us, because we are, right off the Mandalorian and even like the Siege of Mandalore, that was a lot heavier and a lot more character driven. And this is more adventure of the week.
Yeah, I mean,
It almost feels like a step back to like what was it, like season 1 of Clone Wars, where it was
big time.
Yeah.
just
Big
very.
time.
I mean,
I don't, and
like
I
you
feel
were
like they're just.
saying.
I don't know why. I don't know why they feel like they have to test the water when clearly we watched again the Siege of Mandalore, things like that. Like all that was received super
It's
well.
huge critical acclaim.
Like it was amazing. Like they're up for what 3 Emmys right now for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this
I mean,
is the
clearly
thing, like,
they've got something right. Like so, like come on, let's keep pushing it just a little bit more. And like I'm not in the writers' room. I'm not in any of that. So like this is just me, just as a viewer, what we're all seeing and taking in. But
and I wonder if it's because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, A Bad Batch is Clone Wars season 8," which is not. But obviously, we met them in season 7, so most of the people, I guess, comes from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, they're coming in with at least some sort of
pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a backdoor pilot, really.
Some background history on them.
And
We
I know
don't need
that-
to explain everything. So, like, let's.
But they do that in the first episode. They just quickly catch us up to who everybody is in case you didn't watch the Clone Wars.
Yeah, which is nice. But that's where the argument about longer runtimes comes in. Because look what they did with almost 70 minutes.
It was great.
That was amazing. That's like what hooked me on that show. Because initially I was just like, oh, this looks cool. But that 70 minutes of getting to see all those characters and
5
stuff.
extra minutes. Yeah. 5 extra minutes would make it
Like,
absolutely.
At episode 10, at the end, it would have been really interesting to see Hunter and Omega play. See how those characters interact more, because we keep being told that they have a father-daughter relationship.
And then it was fade black.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I had that in my room.
Got to black.
Like, this is what's missing. It faded to black, and I was like, I
was excited to see. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I thought
we're
we
gonna
were
see them
finally
bonding.
Especially
been
that thing on the mission where he was like, told Tech, you and Omega circle back, and then I would do that if Omega was on the mission with us. Like, I thought we were going to get that, like, oh, I missed you on the mission, like some sort of
just like some quiet conversation, some quiet moment.
Well, also too, because Omega, tells Sid, yeah, it's a strategy game. I'm good at strategy. I'm like, okay, she's good at strategy. Hunter's the leader of the Bad Batch. So in theory, he too is good at strategy. So you put these two strategists at the table together, and what does that game look like? But we'll presume she wins, because that wouldn't be fun.
And I'm sure next week
he's like, you lost, you can't come. Sorry. But
next week it'll probably not even be mentioned. I guarantee they'll just be like in space, headed somewhere in the middle of some mission battle, something with no reference to the game.
That's my issue, is that so much is changing in the galaxy right now that it feels weird that it just keeps resetting. And I really got excited with last week's episode, because I was like, okay, this is a turning point. This is a corner. They're going to be like going off on the run. But then when they went back to Sid, I was like, oh, we're
I do
here
like that
again.
they're not going back to Sid anymore. Like that's the
I
loved Sid, but
Here's what I have to wonder, though. I think it was Joel Aaron who was tweeting about this. I could be wrong. But they were saying that they had to finish the show under COVID. So I'm wondering if there was just like trouble with like different parameters, that they couldn't make it quite as long, or I wonder if that played an issue with all this.
Well,
I mean, but not the beginning.
And we know that they started working on this in 2018 because they had the Fennec Shan asset developed, and all of this was already in the work before the Clone Wars even aired last year. So they had plenty of time to develop the scripts, and then it's mostly probably just the animation work that took a little bit extra, because the Outer Rim Beacon interviewed Kevin Kiner last year, and they were already like, I think it was like August that we interviewed him, and they were already almost done with some of the stuff, like for the first half of it. So they were already well into being done.
Yeah, and they need to see the animation and stuff for that.
Yeah.
But maybe, like Hope was saying, is that they think they went too far with Resistance and are just trying to play it safe once again.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe
this is the first animated.
Wait, Candace?
Oh, it's not me?
No, Candace.
No, it's Candace.
Oh, am I
You're
gone?
back.
You're back.
No,
you're back. You're back.
Say that
You're
again,
back.
Candace.
Oh, wait, everyone seemed to go away for a second. I got scared. I was going to be all alone.
No, I heard you talking about Resistance, and they shut your internet down.
Yeah,
just like, I don't know who they is, but it happened.
Yeah, no, we definitely have these theories about resistance erasure. So
Isn't this also like the first show that Dave Filoni isn't like story? Isn't
No,
like the head of
Resistance
it?
was.
He wasn't in charge of
No,
Resistance.
he was
he
not the
didn't do
day-to-day
Resistance.
on Resistance. He was only the executive producer.
But
But
just like he is here.
yeah, so he was not in the day-to-day. But I guess that's why it's like frustrating, because we're going through Resistance on our podcast right now, and we're having these deep conversations about how fascism infiltrates peacetime and like the Holocaust. And I'm here looking at the show. I'm like, it's cool that Cad Bane and Fennec Shand fought.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
if you look at Clone Wars, just like my friend rewatching it, it's like there's a whole arc about slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like Anakin going like domestic violence, even though he's not like beating up Padme, he's beating up Clovis in front of his
Mhm.
wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's a whole like these are dark
Well, that's
topics. Kidnapping baby Jedi, some of them they don't get back. It's baby death. It's sad.
I chose
like,
to block that out, so thank you for this.
Sorry.
You mentioned the whole slave trade thing and the fact that we got that as like a joke basically, and this like 2 episodes in a row, like the whole Echo thing with the droid, and like it's all played for kids. I mean, and that's I think ultimately so many of us are expecting a much more mature show because we have had The Mandalorian, we have the Book of Boba Fett is probably going to be more for like an 18 plus audience. Yeah, like the 17,
like 13 up.
Teens
yeah.
and up, yeah.
That's what I thought Mandalorian was, 13 and up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I think,
but like that peak, like middle teen to
Yeah.
adult audience, and this is
like Brie says, kids can handle a lot more than people think. They could handle Clone
Yeah.
Wars. There was some really dark stuff with Rebels too.
And it's a
Yeah.
safe avenue to have those
People
discussions.
get beheaded in the
Yeah,
first
like these-
season. You don't see it, but you know it happens.
Oh yeah.
You know it happened
what were we
exactly.
saying, Hannah?
You see it in later seasons.
No, I'm just saying, like, these shows it's a safe avenue to have these kind of discussions. Like, how many times at lunch are you like, so let's talk about slave trade?
Yeah.
So,
I
but
guess
like
it's-
watching these shows, you can have those discussions. Be like, hey, remember what you saw watching Star Wars? Like, this is what is happening in real life, and this is what we can do about it. Like, that's always what Star Wars has been some sort of reflection, whether present, past, or even what could happen in the future of what is
Exactly.
happening now. And I think.
Yeah.
And I think the Bad Batch, kind of like what Hope said earlier, is just kind of playing it just a little safe with like, oh, Cad Bane and Fennec Shand
Yeah.
fought. Like that's
Which is cool. It's cool as hell.
It was cool.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I loved
Don't
it.
get me wrong,
But
it was cool.
That's as far as the
Yeah.
discussion goes. And again, I think we're putting a little too much expectation on it as a kid's show. But again,
I'm not.
we're circling back. I think we're circling back to that same discussion. So I think we could just go
I
in a
think-
loop
But
on that.
No, here's my thing. I'm not putting too much expectation because I'm seeing what other animation's doing. I'm seeing
Right.
shows like Owl House having queer couples at the forefront. I'm seeing shows like Amphibia where they're having genocides and massacres. I'm seeing shows like She-Ra where they're child soldiers trying to break out of a tyrannical system. Like, why is Star Wars not at the forefront of this? Like,
They
it
were.
doesn't
They
matter
were.
if it's a kid's show because now they're just falling behind, and it's very clear and obvious that they're falling behind because you have other shows within the Disney bubble blowing them out of the water.
But like, okay, if we think about like how episode 10 started with this like planet being taken over and a senator being like, I can't, I have to speak out. And then you have people rioting or protesting, and then a police force comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yes, they're gonna go there, and then they didn't
I thought
do
so
anything
too.
with it.
This because honestly, that moment was so chilling.
Kids know
Yeah, it
what's
was
happening
chilling.
in the world, right?
Because
now.
all I
They
could
know
think of
what's
was what we've
happening.
seen on the news, and then I was like, "Oh, we're getting there," and then no.
I think that's the thing with the show as a whole is like we wouldn't be having this conversation if these ideas weren't introduced in the Bad Batch. Like they do talk about slave trade and they talk about
I agree.
fascism, police brutality. All this is brought up, but then it's not sort of given the flourish that like Clone Wars would have given it. And I think that's why, because I don't think anybody here hates this show.
No, it's
I-
fun.
we all like
It's a
this
fun
show.
show.
It's
We're like-
entertaining.
we're
Don't
like,
get
You
me
love
wrong.
shows and then you hold it accountable for its faults.
Yeah, like we are all enjoying the show, but it's just like the whole like just finish it. Just like
go
like
there.
today's episode in particular was there were a lot of questions about, especially with Echo and Wrecker, about having to now save somebody that they had spent the whole war fighting against.
Yes.
And they
thought that
really have that in the beginning, but then
I love
Echo
the
kind
little
of comes
moment
through it in the end.
when
But
they looked at each other.
Yeah.
They put that in the summary. Like it sounded like, I'm like, oh my God, this can be so interesting. They're going to talk about morality. They're going to talk about like their beliefs and everything like that. And then nothing happened.
Yeah, that was the discussion I was expecting to happen because, like you, I read that overview and I'm like, oh, sweet.
It was just a sentence. It was just a sentence.
That was all it was. I'm just like,
and like I like so much that Echo started from I'm not helping a separatist and I'm definitely not taking directions from a droid, and he ends at live to fight another day.
Oh, hard.
The beginning and end are beautiful. I don't know how he got there because I wasn't given enough time with him in the moment.
We go from A to B without the proper development.
I know he got there because he is fundamentally a good person and also a sweet baby boy, but like, show me that.
Okay, the sentence is the batch has their ideology challenge.
Yeah, it wasn't really. I mean,
it was
not.
In theory,
yeah, because to the batch, like outside of Echo, like to the batch, it was just a job. To Echo, it was personal because the separatists used him as a weapon against his brothers. So of course he's going to have some massive issues with that. And he seemed to be the only one outside of him and Wrecker that had a problem with it.
You know what would have actually really helped during like the battles and stuff like that? If we could have seen their faces. Seeing how they reacted to stuff. Because when they're all just wearing masks, we only have to go off of D. Bradley Baker's voice of how they feel about situations. But can you imagine if that last scene that you just showed, the Live to Fight Another Day, seeing Echo's face saying those words? Like that would just give a different delivery.
Like it's one thing when they're in the walker and it's blowing up, like, keep your helmet on. But they're at the ship and they're boarding. Like you can take your helmet off.
Especially when you don't like have an actor portraying that. Like we don't have Pedro in a suit with like his body movement portraying emotion, which you know. Sorry, I got Norhal distracted. I think we got all distracted. Pedro Pascal. Everyone just died
elsewhere.
And also, another thing is that not only they were saving somebody, they were fighting before, but they were also fighting their own brothers, even if they were regulars, but they're still clones. And I like how I think it was Arzu, Maggie, that you mentioned that they were just stunning them.
Even though, like, Wrecker knocked one out, I'm like, oh, that guy's dead. But you hear him going, oh, and you're like, okay, I guess.
I loved when Wrecker was like, we're going to feel that in the morning.
It was like if he wakes up in the morning, about feeling a headache in the morning.
I know.
I love Wrecker. Love that boy.
He's so cute.
But even the separatist. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Maggie. I'm changing the subject. You go ahead.
Even with the separatist, with Senator Abby, we didn't really get a full. Like, we got the really great moment at the beginning, which I thought was some really great, starting to give the speech being like, this is the thing that I pushed for all of these years. And then the realization that I can't go through with this. But we never really got the full follow through with that connecting to the final moment of him being like, I can't go. You've rescued me and now I can't go because I can't leave my people behind. And I mean, it would have been really great, and maybe this is just me and my fan fiction brain, like if Hunter had been like, if you really want to fight these people, I know someone that can help you like free your people, and make that connection to Rex and to the Spice Girls, and sorry, that's what we call them on Orb, and like connect them to the rebellion and see that kind of thing, because we already have this tiny seed that's been planted that now that they're no longer under Sid, they could theoretically follow back up with Rex, because we know 2 episodes ago that Echo was like, we should have gone with Rex. But they didn't make that connection. And that's what's so interesting with this being a kids show. They're not drawing the lines that most kids shows do. I just read a ton of children's books today, and most children's books make those connections for you because you're a kid and you don't see those until you learn them. And so it's weird that we're having to add all of these extra connections on to this as we're discussing it.
I love the idea that the rebellion is born out of the separatist movement, not the republic. I I think that's because the Republic became the Empire and they just pretty much just swapped over all those assets. But you have characters like Cassian, who was a separatist. We now see this world that is rebellion.
That's the whole thing.
It was part of the Sith too.
Well, what was so interesting with the Separatists was that the Separatists were like, their Republic Senate is corrupt, and they were right. Yeah, they were correct. It was very corrupt. It was just the whole war thing and the droids and like all of that.
It was the whole Palpatine and Dooku thing.
I know,
but I like that idea.
Paps was in charge of Separatists too, so
it was Palp playing 60 chess himself.
It was Palpatine all along.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
But speaking of Separatists, I did like that this episode. It reminded me a lot of Heroes on Both Sides from the Clone Wars with Mina and Lux Bonteri, and it was even on the same planet that episode was set on. So I just thought that was a really cool like little through line that they were both playing to these similar themes and notions and stuff, but while still being on the same planet. And Raxus looked beautiful.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
Stunning.
It looked like a fairy tale. I was like, oh my god,
more of these locations and less wilderness.
Please and thank you.
Please.
I like pretty places.
I like wildernesses.
I love the wildernesses, but like it almost feels like nobody lives in a city in the galaxy far, far away. Like more urban life.
I love Raxus because it reminds me of Naboo. Especially if anyone's played. There was the lightsaber challenge game from Lenovo that came out like 2 or 3 years ago. It's like one of the early virtual headsets, and you fight in Naboo as like it's the coolest thing. It like opens up basically like a Dejeric table in front of you, and then there's another one that's a strategy game that opens up on the floor in front of you, and you move like the little parapets and the like little towers around, and you fight against forces on the other side. And it reminded me of that when they were marching through, and like their whole little fight reminded me of that, but that was Naboo in the game. So it was interesting to see that.
Yeah, I have that game in my closet.
It's so fun.
I have it too.
It's so much fun. I get a battle like Kylo Ren. I'm like,
I don't know what they're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
You have your cell phone and you put it in this thing, and it looks like things are projected in front of you.
VR.
Yeah, it's a VR, like kind of like you put your phone in it, and then you have like a lightsaber. And you also do training with droids and stuff like that. And then you can be Sith, you can be a good guy.
You have you fight against the Seventh Sister, you fight against Darth Maul, Kylo Ren, Darth Vader. It's super fun. And allegedly, if you beat it, I could never beat it because I was not good at Dejeric at all. Or the strategy game, the battle strategy. I'm not Omega. Allegedly, if you finish the game, the little holocron would change colors, and then you would train as a Sith and not a Jedi.
See, I haven't played with it since I got Bucky because he likes to be like right near my feet, and I feel like if I get really into it, I'm gonna like step on my dog. I can't do that. I can't step on the dog.
But it was super fun. I'm sure it's super cheap now. I got it like right when it came out, but it's been like a couple years, and I don't know if they've updated it.
Yeah, I paid like $130.
I know. I paid like the full price, and then like it was like $80 next time.
I got it on Black Friday. It was like $50.
But now that they have like all the other Oculus headsets and stuff, like I don't know if they've updated it. But it was just a really fun game, and it's fun to see some of the little things that have been created over the years replicated in small parts into other media, because it definitely, seeing all the walkers coming in and seeing like taking them over and stuff, like that was a whole. Bye, Candace. That was a whole part of
Candace is fixing her internet. She'll be right back.
It was a whole part of that like strategy part of that game, and to see them like taking over the walkers and trying to get things going and like proceeding onwards was like a fun part of this episode. And I'm not usually one to enjoy battles.
The action scene.
Yeah, the action, like they're fine. Like the only action scene I truly enjoyed was, let's take it back to beating Cad Bane at his own game.
I know, it was glorious.
She's new in this town, but she's out here taking on the best of the best.
So while we're on the subject of these two, so I know Hunter doesn't know that Nala Se told Fennec, like, don't bother going after Omega anymore. So he's like, there's 2 bounty hunters after you. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening. But do we think they're coming back this season?
Who, the Kaminoans or bounty hunters?
Bounty hunters.
Okay.
I think the Kaminoans play well.
Kaminoans for
Cad,
sure.
Cad Bane's gonna be like, I need to get that bounty.
Well, because Hunter told Omega, you never have to go back to Camino, which in TV code means we're going back to Camino.
We're going back.
Well, we know we have to.
Under duress.
I feel like there was some scene in Camino in the mid-season trailer that dropped.
That we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and I think it was the Bad Batch on Camino.
You know what's on Camino?
Right?
Crosshair.
Oh, because
my
they
God.
didn't see.
I forgot about him
our
again.
toothpick.
How do I
They forgot
forget about
Crosshair again.
Oh,
I have a speculation about what's going to happen with him.
please share the pain.
It's going to break us, but let's hear it.
Oh.
I think that he's
hold
not
my
going to be
Lula.
able to have his skill anymore. His eyes are going to be damaged, and he's going to get tossed aside. And if Omega does get captured and taken back to Camino, when the Empire doesn't want him anymore, I think that's going to be his turning point, and he's going to help her escape.
Yes.
Oh, good. I like that.
Who had the theory that he's going to get his chip out and he's still going to be like
Half
part
the
of Empire?
fandom.
Yeah,
I
okay.
love it.
He's like, I'm still evil, y'all.
Maggie's here for the pain. I'm just
I
like,
am.
okay.
I'm
I
always
know.
your
It's
thing.
fine.
I don't care about him. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I love him.
Wow.
Saying it.
No,
Our
hope
toothpick boy.
I'm in the same boat as you. We can pilot this leaky ship together.
Mm.
If it goes
I
up
love
in
it.
flames, it'll be
I love
fine.
an angry boy who
Oh
just
God!
I like
Well,
the
what
angry boy on the verge
what was
of
the words
redemption.
he used in Replacements? You're of no use to the Empire. What if those words get turned on him?
Mhm.
They will. They will get turned on
Yeah.
him.
I
They
think
will.
that's the whole point of him getting injured.
Absolutely.
Also, we know that the Empire doesn't want clones. They're clonist.
Yeah.
They're not going
Like,
to
they're
waste
looking
one.
for any excuse to toss him.
Okay. What if they take the Empire takes the chip out of his head because he's of no use to the Empire. So they take the chip out, and him, in a bid to be like, I'm still relevant, just doubles down on the good soldiers follow orders bit.
That would
maybe.
be interesting.
That would be really interesting.
Like it sort of ties into what Maggie and Candace were saying about like they take the chip out of his head and he's still an asshole, but he's like doing it on purpose.
Purposeful asshole.
It's just purposefully.
Purposeful asshole. That's what I am.
Candace.
I like that. I'm gonna put that in my bio.
Yeah. Oh God, I hope they play with his character a little bit more because
Yeah, we need to see more of him.
the mid-season trailer to see if we can find it.
I completely forgot about him again.
So there's
Yeah.
one scene of them in some sort of cave that we haven't seen yet.
Oh no, the wilderness, Arzu.
And then
You know what?
there's definitely a shot on Camino. There's like a shot of all of them on some sort of. Do you remember when they were in that training room in the first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some sort of episode or some sort of shot that looks really similar to that location, and like Omega's there, and Tech is doing something, and Wrecker looks like he's standing guard. And I haven't seen this shot before yet, unless I'm completely blacking out something.
No, it hasn't happened.
Mega's barely with them in Camino.
Yeah,
so.
she's
Yeah.
not really until like near the end. So no,
Yeah.
we're gonna see it.
But is there a shot of baby Dr. Pershing with glasses that are too big for his face?
Aww. I wish.
Learning the
No,
cloning.
just me. That's fine.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That would be
So
cool.
never say
That's a good
never.
one.
That just reminded me of the question that you asked earlier, Arzu, of what did we think that was going to happen with the Kaminoans, and I think that they're going to go out the way of the Geonosians. I think because you asked like what do they want with Omega? I think they're going to try and raise a private army and rebel against the Empire, and it's not going to go well because if they try to raise a private army to show that their clones are superior, I mean, what's stopping Tarkin to be like, oh, that's cute, destroy. And I think they're going to get wiped out like the Geonosians, which is why we have people like Dr. Pershing. They're going to just put humans in that era, and that's why we're going to have really terrible Snoke clones, because humans are not cloners. The Kaminoans are, but they're all gone, so nobody knows how to clone a Palpatine.
Right.
And then we get a jar of pickle snacks.
Because
Pickle
right
snacks.
now I'm thinking about, well, the books can be changed, right? The details, but I think in the Ahsoka book, I recall the stormtroopers that go knocking on her door are already like regular people that are not clones. So, but yeah, that can change, and it could be gradual. But that would be an interesting perspective. What if the Kaminoans rebel against the Inspire and they are erased and wiped?
Also, who controls the chip? Does the Kaminoans also have access to the chip? Is it just not the Empire?
They will flip a switch and be like, good soldiers follow Kaminoans.
Yeah. if they feel like the Empire is trying to take them down, that would be interesting to see.
Because we know that, like, again, like Norhal said, books can be changed, that even like later on, the clones basically serve out the rest of their lives just in service of the Empire, not the Republic.
I can't think of a time that the Kaminoans controlled the chip.
I was like, my fan fiction and my Legends brain is getting mixed up on what. There's some good stuff on what the
when does Solo take place?
10 years.
10-ish, yeah.
Yeah, the
so
first
like all the
is
clones
like
would be gone by then.
Yeah.
So Solo takes place. Oh yeah, after
7 years, and then
the clones wouldn't necessarily be gone by then.
Maybe decommissioned, for
think
a better word.
Kaminoans from Rebels on. I can't think of ever seeing a Kaminoan past this time period.
The one clone soldier detail I cling to is in Lords of the Sith when Palpatine and Vader are on Ryloth. One of the troopers serving with them is a clone. And Vader has that moment in his Anakin brain where he's like, that guy sounds like Rex.
Well, and then
like that goes back, and then I cry, and then it's a whole thing. But that's the one thing I'm clinging to, is that they are still serving in the military until they die.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be far in between, and they're going to be more like canon fodder if Tarkin's in charge.
Yeah. Right, like that's why they sent this guy with Vader and Palpatine, because like it's not exactly an important task.
Yeah. I was like, outside of potentially having Rex in Return of the Jedi, which that's a whole different discussion. It kicks in the comics. He was part of the 501st, their medic. He's the only clone that was alive during the sequel trilogy that anybody knew about.
And
Kix made it to the sequel trilogy?
It was
in cryo. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a short story. He
Super
went
good.
to go. Yeah, it was
Good.
Crimson Corsair, the treasure of the Crimson Corsair, I think it was. But he got frozen, went around space for like a few years, and the Crimson Corsair from Athano guy was just like, "Oh, hey, you want to join our thing?" And Kix was like, "Oh, my friends are dead. Sure, I guess I'll be a pirate now."
Because he was the H he was in season 7, so
He pretty much kicked out, opened the cryo door, and he was like, "The Chancellor's gonna kill us all." And
Order
they're like,
66.
"They're already dead."
Yep, too late.
Oh.
So then he drank some and became a pirate. So
He made a good pirate.
that's why there was actually a lot of hullabaloo around when Athano showed up in Resistance, because we all thought we were going to get a Kix appearance because he was in that time period, and we were all upset.
Oh, Kix, you sweet child. I love you.
Oh, I feel like there's something I want to say.
I don't know.
We got a hard case reference today, too, so I got super emotional. I don't know.
Oh.
So many.
I thought that was interesting because, Echo wasn't with Hardcase, so I was just like...
I think it's a 501st thing, because somebody said that Rex said it in Rebels, too. And I'm like,
he did.
I bet you it's a 501st thing, which is super sad to think
It's
about.
like day one, this is what you say to people. Live to fight another day. Rule 2.
Which just tells me that somebody in the 501st believed it so much that he drilled it into everybody else. I don't know which one of them had this much conviction, but somebody did.
Well, I mean, Echo repeats everything all the time.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, it was Echo.
Or Echo,
Echo repeats everything.
He echoed it at them until they remembered.
But talking about Echo, the moment when he was smelling the mantle mix.
Yeah.
The beginning.
Well, do we know if he can eat?
Yeah, how does that work?
How much robot is he?
He is.
Good question.
Okay, he has, hang on, I looked this up. He has cyber... He's got cybernetic, a neurosystem, his legs are cybernetic, and it's one other internal system, respiratory system.
So I'm going to assume he probably can't eat.
Probably not. I mean, it technically didn't say he had a cybernetic, like, I don't know how he's still walking around, because I don't think his heart works. I don't think he's got any blood, which is why he's so
why
pale.
can't he eat?
The thing is, like,
he doesn't have a digestive
Where
tract.
does it go?
Where does it go out?
I mean, even Vader ate.
Did he?
On rare occasions, yeah. When he was in his pod, he could eat.
I've just got this image of Echo, like anytime they've got downtime, just sticking in a tube of
Drinking a
saline just to
smoothie.
get what he needs.
I think the things that happen to Echo are slightly different from the things that happen to Anakin's body. I think the parts that were lost are different.
Why are you trying to keep him from having tasty popcorn?
Because like
He
the
just wants
difference
popcorn.
is that
We don't
like,
know where he
Vader,
evacuates from.
Vader has all his eternal organs.
Yeah, Vader
Maul
has his
still
internal-
ate.
like
And he has definitely nothing.
Oh, that's true.
Vader and I think Vader and Maul have their internal
No.
organs though. Like the difference is that Echo had like his blood veins and everything else taken out and turned into computer bits.
I think we're just
Yeah,
wondering
now
how
I'm
much of his
thinking.
computer on the inside.
Oh, that
Yeah.
looks bad.
That's
Now
why
I'm
he's
thinking if
so
Maul can
white.
eat.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that I'm not the logical one in the situation. I'm just like, let me eat popcorn.
I feel like he should. Maybe he was. Maybe this is all still so new to him that he's like, maybe something will be the right thing, and I'll be able to smell this, or I'll be able to eat this.
Or he was pulling the sad boy and being like, I'll just smell it. That's the same as eating it.
He looked to me like he was like those parents on Halloween that's checking all the candy.
Oh my god! Maybe that's what he was doing. He was making sure it was
He's
safe.
still being the mom of the batch.
They're just
That's
like,
what it reminded me.
what nutritional value does this have? You were a grown child, Omega.
And this is
They're all
Aw.
chaotic, and he's like, "This looks
Yeah.
like artificial coloring."
Wrecker, you're a growing child.
As someone who has watched their mom smell their Snickers bars at Halloween to make sure they're safe, that's exactly the face my mother made.
So that's confirmed. That's
I'm
what Echo
fairly
is doing.
certain adults came out with that thing about candy might not being safe, so then they can steal their favorite.
Oh, that's exactly
ones.
what they did.
Oh yeah.
My Reese's were gone by the end of the night.
The Reese's are never safe if your parents are checking.
No.
No.
My
I
Kit
won't
Kats.
ruin the mood with the actual racist. Why that started is actually quite racist, but okay.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Just me.
Of course it is. It's America. Yay!
Okay.
I really
that
do
note.
it, kid. So
On that note,
I
Echo.
really love Sid hurting. Okay, this is gonna be. I like Sid hurting Omega's feelings and the Ithorian in the weak way, judging her so hard because everybody loves Omega, even the bar patrons.
They do. That was funny.
I know. But
I kind
yeah,
of-
how
I like seeing all of Omega's ingenuity, both from the current episode and the previous one. I think her just going, yeah, I'm just good at strategy games and to kick everybody's butt, make some money, and pay off a debt. And then
and
obviously escaping Cad Bane and Fennec Shand, although one was trying to actually help over the other. I don't know. I like seeing more of that she can hold her own outside of the batch, even though you're still like, you're a child. What are you doing?
Oh, can we
And-
talk
well-
about how Finnick was like the only person you can trust is yourself? Like actually
Oh,
giving like
yes.
advice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But not
She's
being
our
like, oh,
queen.
you can trust me or something like that. Someone on Twitter brought that up. Is like, all the villains are always like, oh, trust me.
Trust me.
and trust no one else. And then like Finnick's like, no, you got to trust yourself. And actually giving her like some life tips.
That's like some
Yeah,
really
and-
good
Because
advice.
Fennec is
also
perfect and
bringing
has never
her
done
back.
anything wrong in her life.
Exactly. Finnick
Exactly.
is perfection.
No, and Omega, I mean, if we remember what she did with Toto, that she tricked him into, oh, I can help you with your leg, and then I'm gonna unplug you, and then I'm gonna look for my my chip, my com chip. So that was like she is resourceful and is showing, and I'm glad that it's not like, oh, she's the kid in the distress that needs to be rescued. She has her own bag of tricks, you know.
I enjoyed how they turned that story on its head too, because like the expectation is that Toto would join her, and no, he was just still always evil. That's just who he is. He's an evil droid, and that's what I always liked about him. But like the expectation of that in a kid show is that he would have been like, "I'll save you, Omega. Go run free. I'll cover for you." And no, he's just like, "Yeah, come back here." I like that.
It stressed me out more than it should have when he dropped all the credits.
I know.
They were for
Oh,
Cad Bane. I shouldn't worry about this, but it stressed me out more than it should have.
Yeah.
It should have landed inside the flight pod, and she just showed up with credits.
We can buy our way out.
There we go.
But yeah, well, she played it with the HoloSheds and got the money.
Loved it.
So any final thoughts tonight on episode 9, 10, the series overall?
Best
Echo.
boy.
Oh,
Best boy.
Sweet
Best
boy.
Echo. Best Echo. We love him.
I love how we all said best boy there, like an echo.
Oh.
Uh,
The Geeky Waffle has a Patreon. Right, Arzu?
Yes.
Or we forget.
Where I will not beg people to stop me because I can get inappropriate about Echo.
Exactly.
On Patreon.
Yeah. We are gonna record our next Waffles After Dark soon.
Yes.
I have one last question for the panel. So they paid off their debt to Sid, but do you think Sid's gonna let them go easy, knowing that they're wanted men?
the next episode is
Nah.
called Devil's Deal. So, no.
I'm really
Whoa.
surprised she didn't find
No.
like
This is
find
not
out that
gonna go
Echo
well.
not Echo. That
Omega?
Omega was wanted. I thought she was gonna be sell her down the road.
Yeah, like double. Yeah.
She seemed too pleased with the cut that she got and that Omega had paid off their debts. I feel like she had a turning point herself this episode in terms of how she felt about Omega herself.
Mm-hmm. Sid had more development than the rest of the batch this episode.
100%.
It should have been
I agree.
Sid has her
Sid was
ideology questioned. Challenged. That should have been the title.
Sid decides she is okay with being a grandma.
And can we just applaud Rhea Portman?
Just
She is amazing.
and then it's renamed
It
the Clone
was awesome.
Club outside. Not Sid's, just the Clone Club.
Are you okay?
You okay, Maggie?
Are you okay?
Yeah, my light just decided to
What
get
was
up
the
the ghost.
clone club on Coruscant? 79 or 70?
Yep,
79,
79.
yeah.
79. It's like 79 too.
79.2, yeah.
Should have
There
been
we go.
called something
79.
else.
Maggie.
Maggie.
Whoa,
okay.
Oh my god. Maggie.
Okay, we're getting after darks.
This is just a
On that
teaser
note,
of
I
what
feel
it's
like
like.
that's as good a time as any to wrap this up. So, Maggie, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Maggie of the Town. I'm writing reviews every Friday and Wednesday, of course, for Loki over at Your Money Geek. You can also hear me over at the Outer Rim Beacon. Let's talk about Star Wars. The Taylor Swift podcast I have, the Geeky Waffle. And you can also find me writing over at Collider now.
Yay.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Hey, my Twitter is Candace the Geek, and you can find me at thegeekywaffle.com. Be sure to check out all of our podcasts because we are a freaking network now, y'all.
Yay. Well, I'm Norhal. You can find me also on my Twitter handle, Norhal, where I can post my videos and articles and rant about pop culture, music, Marvel, stuff like that. And also football, because there's been a lot of sports later on. But yeah, you can see my rants in there.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Beskar_Kyber15. And I am also part of Followers of the Force, where we have new episodes every Monday and a happy hour at 7 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. And that's where you can find me, hang out, come yell, cry about clones. I've been doing a lot of that recently. So come hang out.
You can find me at Hope Molinax, also at J Guys and Jedi on where we talk about Star Wars animation. We're going through Resistance right now. I also have a podcast called Hope Makes Chris Watch Cartoons, where we're finishing up going through Gravity Falls, and we're about to start Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I've just started recently writing for the Geeky Waffle, doing Owl House reviews, and I'm really excited about that. But Arzu, where can people find you?
So you can find me personally at Arzu Amin on Twitter and at rzudt2.com, where I do Star Wars book reviews, High Republic stuff coming very, very shortly. Otherwise, you can find the Geeky Waffle in general, because we've teased a lot about our writing and our shows. You can find us at thegeekywaffle.com, geeky_waffle on Twitter, the Geeky Waffle on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And like we mentioned earlier, we have our Patreon, patreon.com/thegeekywaffle, where our tiers start at $1 for our Discord server, and $3 and up is our Waffles After Dark, the very heavily teased and very, very funny Waffles After Dark. So be sure to check us out there, and we will see you all 2 weeks from now. I almost said next week, 2 weeks from now. So have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my
that's
God.
awesome.